However, a source close to the situation told our Dan Graziano that Manziel was discussed at length in meetings and that Jackson indicated he would prefer for the organization to move on from Manziel. Antonio Cromartie is still with us. What do you make of Johnny Manziel's future at this point?
No, honestly, hate to say it, but I think his future in Cleveland is done. And the reason I say that, I think when you look at all his off-the-field antics and things he's done, he's not taking the job seriously. I think this is more of a hobby for him than it is his livelihood. You know, most guys that's in this game, they take it as their livelihood. It's how they provide for their family. I don't think Johnny Manziel looks at it like that. He look at it more as, this is my hobby. I can do whatever I need to do. I can go back home if I really need to. If I'm not playing ball, my family has come into money. We've always had it. This is a hobby for me. This is not my livelihood like most guys take it.
Stephen A.
Well, I think it's clear he's done in Cleveland. The Johnny Manziel that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, I don't think he's going to have a problem with that at all. I think he wants out of Cleveland. I think some of the antics that took place at the end of the season is because he wanted out of Cleveland. And I think that when he ultimately sits in front of another team, that's what he's ultimately going to admit privately, that he didn't want to be in Cleveland any longer. What he has to be careful about is that it's gotten to the point where Johnny Manziel's next stop in the NFL could very well be his last. His career will be over before it even begins, because the irresponsible tendencies that he put on display, it's bad enough that your production level isn't high. But now they're saying either you're selfish, you're childish, or you got substance abuse problems. It's one of the three in terms of NFL folks making the decisions. And they're simply not going to take a chance on somebody who can do irreparable harm to their reputations. They're not going to do it. Executives are going to be scared to death because there's but few of these jobs to have. Some owner may be willing to take a chance. I believe Dallas could, because Jerry Jones will do it. I believe if Houston does, it's because their owner McNair will insist on it. If something like that doesn't happen, I don't see Johnny Manziel having a future, because when you listen to our Bill Polian, a Hall of Fame executive, talk about how he's done in Cleveland and how there's no way he could be there, he committed the cardinal sin. He abandoned his teammates. I've gotten to know Bill Polian through my years here at ESPN with him. Obviously incredibly knowledgeable, a good man. I love him dearly. He is a guy that obviously is incredibly connected to the NFL still. There's no way on earth that he says that just based on experience. He says that because he's also on the phone talking with former contemporaries of his who swear that's where they stand. The end is rapidly approaching for Johnny Manziel. He'll get another chance, but it'll be his last as it pertains to his behavior. He'll last longer if he just plays average but doesn't knock your socks off. Maybe somebody will give him a look. But from a behavioral perspective, his next stop will be his last. He can't do again what he did in Cleveland and have a job in the NFL. No one will touch him. His next chance will be his last.
Agreed. Quick thought for Antonio. Just a quick answer before I answer. Do you think he can play?
No, I think he can play. I think he has the tangibles to go out and play. But it's going to be his off-the-field antics.
Absolutely. Okay. Because I think he can play too. Now, back to what Stephen A. was saying. I am also very relieved for Johnny, and I know him the way Stephen A. knows him, that he's about to be an ex-Cleveland Brown, because they didn't want him in the first place. The now ex-head coach and ex-GM did not want to draft Johnny Manziel, so it was wrong place, wrong time, wrong fit. So what I think will happen is the new regime will they will shop Johnny to trade him. I think there will be no takers, and I think they will end up having to cut him in March. And Jerry Jones will be the first in line, because I think Johnny wants to go to Dallas, and I think Jerry wants to have Johnny, because as we all remember, Jerry wanted to draft him in the middle of that first round that night. You know the rest of the story, Zach Martin was taken. But in this case, I'm fearing for Johnny here because I wanted him to hit bottom. I wanted him to maybe even be out for a year of the league. And I fear that Jerry Jones will become his next enabler. To Stephen A's point, I think he's got big off-the-field issues he needs to readdress. He went to a rehab last offseason, as we remember, as we all know, and for whatever reason, it did not take. I think he needs to look in the mirror and readdress that issue and get a new grip on it before he has any chance of succeeding in the NFL, because you're exactly right. Right now, the quarterback job is just a hobby to him, and the party life is a little more important to him, or at least it coexists with him. So he had no second thoughts about going to Vegas, because he's not even supposed to suit up tomorrow. He's in the concussion protocol, and we all know you just can't do that to the rest of your team. You're going to end up cutting the cord with those guys, because a lot of them will say, well, heck with you then, and I think they basically did in that locker room. So now, but I keep telling Stephen A, until Johnny gets a grip on all that off-field issue, he can't succeed in the National Football League. I don't care if it's in Dallas or not. And I'm afraid that Jerry will not force him to address his problem, because Jerry's going to sign him and trumpet it, and he'll be made for Dallas, Texas, and here we'll go again, and the issues will keep rearing their ugly head.
I got something for both Stephen A. and Skip. Here it is. You also got to look at this. The people that he's hanging around, his yes man, that's telling him he can do anything he want to do, he has to change that too. Because if that doesn't
totally
change,
agree.
His whole attitude and the way he carries himself is still going to be the same exact thing no matter where he goes. He's going to still have the same off the field problems just because of the people he hang around with. Well, they're more yes men than they was telling him, Johnny, you know what, you can't do this. You're a starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. You doing this, you doing that. Those have to change. You have to have people that's around you that's going to tell you the truth and not tell you, yeah, you can do anything that you want to do. I think that's another issue. You have to change it. You have to change the atmosphere that's around you too.
Well, I'm not going to say that you're wrong, because you're not, but Johnny is smart enough to know for himself, even now, what he can and can't do. He doesn't need somebody telling him he can do something for him to believe that he can. He knows what he can and can't do. The problem is that, again, when it's not a priority for you, you have a problem. See, I believe playing is a priority for Johnny Manziel, not earning the right to play. There's a difference. Because to earn the right to play, you have to go through the arduous, mundane, monotonous task of going about your business every day and being religiously committed to your craft. Johnny Manziel is committed to playing on Sunday. Johnny Manziel, in my opinion, would be even more committed if he were playing on Sunday. But earning it, as opposed to it being handed to you, is a different thing altogether. And when you tell him that he's coming off the bench and he's thinking about one Sunday after another and the possibility of being a backup, to me, that's the hazard for him, combined with being in a locale that he wasn't happy in being in. So it's not excuses. These are all facts. It doesn't excuse what he's done. It certainly doesn't mandate that he should get away with anything that he's done. But that's the beast that is Johnny Manziel, I believe, you're dealing with. I think that if he's playing all the time, then Johnny Manziel would be ready. Now, ready to do what? That depends on his skill set on the NFL level. But I think he would be more committed. I think it's very difficult for somebody with his mentality, his cachet, meaning his quality of life that he can afford without football, combined with his other issues. I think it's a lot to ask for him to sit down and wait, because that ain't in him.
Well, it's the real world, and he's acting very entitled. It's getting old, and to your point, having that support system when you have substance abuse issues is imperative, Antonio. All right, you'll be back with us later in the show. You get one block off. Coming up next, back to the association. Skip Spurs on a roll. I don't want to jinx them, though, but will that come to an end tonight against the Cavs?